What's going on, friends? Sam Prentice back once again, and over to my right-hand side, it's Ryan from Offset Maker Lab.
Wait.
Amazing. Well, we're building DeathRacers today, and this is going to be your definitive guide on how to build a DeathRacer in video format. We're also doing a live stream, so if you want to build while we're building, well, you can follow that stream, or you can have a look at this particular guide where it will be timestamped down below. So all the elements inside of this video is going to be categorized and made by us. That's exciting. Yeah, so the Piranha DeathRacer is the one we're working on. This is the version 2. This is the whole new thing that we're working towards now, and designed by our good friend here, Ryan. So Hello. Thank you once again. Now we have got the V1 kit from BigTreeTech. They're working on the V2, but there are some added extras. So if you do buy one of these kits, there are some other bits you're going to need in order to make this work, and we'll go through that in this very video. So friends, once again, thank you to our sponsors, PCBWay.com and also Polymaker. Let's get straight on into this one.
You are watching a master at work.
Okay, so what is a Piranha kit and what is a DeathRacer? Well, this is a DeathRacer. It's basically a 3D printed battle bot. On the back here, we've got a servo that spins left and right. And the idea of this is to knock your head off your competitor. Inside of there, of course, there is a kill switch. So as soon as you hit this switch and you basically cut the head off. I nearly said disembowel. It's not disemboweling. You're cutting. You're decapitating the head. Once this has come off, of course, the switch deactivates and it kills the entire racer. So, Ryan, if you'd like to do the honors, what's inside that particular box?
This particular box is just about everything you need. Electronics-wise, they've done a great job of putting together all the parts you need so you don't have to self-source, which is awesome.
Yeah, because of course when we first started doing this, the idea was you're supposed to self-source the parts. BigTreeTech came along and said, well, we can get all those parts, we can do it for a deal of $189 or less, depending on if you get it on a sale. But we've got all the component parts here and we've got the remote control. So this pretty much, certainly when we get into the next iteration of this and we have the additional parts in it, it should be a kit in a box. This isn't one of those builds where you're going to get it out of the box and it's just going to be done. You do have to put quite a bit of effort into actually finishing this, assembling parts, and there are things like the motors and the gearboxes. It does need a little bit of manual work inside of that, and we've spoke to BigTreeTech about that and asked them whether or not they could actually assemble those ahead of time, and the answer was, well, the price would go up. So we kind of feel like $189.
That's a really good deal.
I think for the controller, I think they retail on Amazon for about $60. So to get everything inside of this, I think is a bit of a deal. But there are some additional parts that we need to get as well. For instance, and we're going to start with heat inserts. We do get some heat inserts inside of the box. There aren't enough. We need a total of 40. So you might need to order some M3s if you're buying this particular kit. If you're not, and hopefully at the time of posting this, maybe BigTreeTech will have already brought out a difference in kit. You will see that it's called the Piranha. It's the V2 kit. And that's obviously what we're promoting right now. So this is what we have. Anything here that you want to sort of point out or talk about?
Yep, we have a duck, and that's the most important thing in there.
Absolutely is. There's things here like the pins. These pins are for the tracks. Again, we haven't got quite enough of those inside of this kit. I think there's maybe 4 or 8.
You're missing 4 total.
4. Yeah, so 4 missing of those. So it's just a little bit of M3 rod that needs to be cut down, and that's basically it. There's a few screws, a few other bits and pieces there, isn't there? But we'll go through that.
Okay.
Yeah?
Well, I was just going to say, we are missing 4 pins because we made the drive frames a little bit longer so that the motor shafts no longer need to be cut down.
Exactly, yeah, so previously we would have had to have cut the motor shaft here and across here as well in order to sort of squeeze those together. BigTreeTech basically put, instead of 540 motors, they put 550 motors, and the reasoning for that was they're a beefier motor and they should have better longevity than the 540s. That was the theory anyway. So first things first, we're going to do the heat inserts into the main parts, so that's going to be in our next clip. Okay, so up next, we're going to get the first box. These are, just so you're aware, these are the public racers that are going to be at the Rep festivals this year, so you'll see these and be able to drive these at Rocky Mountain Rep Festival, the Midwest Rep Festival, and 3D Printopia. And maybe we'll do something at Smurf as well, but obviously this is US-based stuff at the moment. And again, thank you very much to Polymaker, because this, of course, is all Panchroma Look at those vivid colors. My word, look at that. Check it out. These are the side panels. Is there a name for this one? Is it just, what are we going to name these?
We've kind of coined this one the 80s Racer.
The 80s Racer. Okay,
just because
cool.
of the colors.
Gotcha. That makes sense. So heat insert wise, what have we got to put heat inserts into?
So
there's quite a few.
The drive frames, the main frame.
Yep.
The Piranha nose.
Yep.
Motor mounts.
The wheels.
Yep. Rear frame. Oh boy, we got plenty. We got wheels to put heat set inserts into. All that stuff.
Whoa. My God. What was this printed on?
That's difficult. I had all the printers I had running.
Oh, okay.
It could be on a Prusa. It could be on X1 Carbon.
They look super clean. Awesome. Okay, so heat insert wise, this is the little bag you get inside of the BigTreeTech box. Again, like I said before, we are going to need some more of those. A couple of things that I did get, and thanks to PCBWay, and I'll put a link in the description for this. This is a super awesome soldering iron with heat insert adapter, and we're using a product here by Anker, and it's a 165 watt USB-C power adapter. I showed you this earlier.
Yeah,
this
awesome.
heats up to 300 degrees in about 10 seconds, which is pretty impressive. I don't know about you, but traditionally with soldering iron, I'd switch it on and wait 5 minutes and have to go back to it later or forget about it. And I've also got a gas one as well, and that takes a good couple of minutes to sort of heat up as well. So this is a bit of a game changer. And again, I'll put links in the description, and thanks to PCBWay once again for sorting us out with this, because this is going to change up things here.
I'm ready to try that thing out.
So we're gonna plug this in, and as I said before, it's super quick. Literally it comes on, and all you do is you push this button. 61 degrees, 131, 152, 200 degrees, 221. That is done. I don't even know how many, that seemed faster actually than 10 seconds. But 300 degrees on this one. Are we good? Do I need to put anything down here? I'm not going to sort of drop
I think we're good.
hot parts anywhere, but let's pull a few of these out.
So that's what we got in the kit, but we also have some extras too. So when you run out, we got plenty.
Are they different? Are they the same?
They should be exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Okay, let's do a close up on this. If you wouldn't mind holding that for a second.
Ah! Or you like the way it was?
I like it there.
Okay.
Just pop it on in.
You going?
Yep.
Whoops. So I'm just kind of plugging these things into the hole to start, if I can.
I should come around and do the other one, shouldn't I?
And then
Start racking these up. So we've got 3 in the side, then we've got 6 in the top on each of these. These ones on the side are of course for the side panels. So if you end up having a sponsored racer and you want to put, I don't know, PCBWay or Prusa or Polymaker on the side, then you're more than welcome to add those to your racer.
I'm doing something that's probably a little bit inadvisable, but sometimes a little bit of plastic comes up and doesn't stay nice and level.
I found on some of the carbon fiber ones, they push them back up sometimes.
Yeah, so I end up coming back, and while it's still a little bit warm, quickly kind of tamp down some of that plastic so that it doesn't extrude.
Okay, if I give you this one,
Yeah.
and then we just swap it out.
Oh, I get the easy job.
Yeah,
Nice.
you're just pushing it in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put the heat inserts into the ends of these. Now, traditionally there would have been 2. Now there's just 1, and it's a little hole here. We're just going to put a heat insert into it. So let's do that.
Okay, all right. So when you put the heat sets into these,
Yep.
it's nice to send a bolt through.
Yep.
and start the heat set just a screw or two onto that.
Okay, shall I hold this?
Sure. So it doesn't block up with plastic in that shaft.
Okay, I'll hold it tight.
And that bolt will act as a heat sink, so it's going to suck a little bit of the heat that we're putting into it in there. There it goes.
It goes there, it goes. Yeah.
There we go.
That's it. Excellent. I'll take the screw out.
So, and just to confirm that that actually works like it's supposed to, dump that in there. Couple twists.
Easy.
And it's worth confirming that things actually work like they're supposed to as you go through the build, whether that's making sure gears mesh properly,
Yep.
bolts go into heat sets.
Well, there's a key on these as well. So
Yes.
there's a single key, and then there's a two-prong key here and here as well. So you can't get these wrong, and it also means that it lines up. So again, on the older files, sometimes you could have had it slightly incorrectly balanced, and then it wouldn't work. So ultimately, you've got this part here, that plugs into that. Again, you have the heat insert on the reverse side, which just goes into here. Screw goes straight through here, and that just pinches everything together. You will have bearings on the side of these, and ultimately what you'll find is that will go into here, onto the leather holders. The bearings sit inside of here, and we'll come onto that in a little bit. But that's pretty good, so let's get the rest of these done. So we're cracking on with these. There is a hidden one though, right in the back. We better get that one on there. That has dropped down, I think, in temperature. So we might need to hit that special button on the left.
Touch your tongue to it to check?
Don't touch your tongue.
Oh.
Do you want me to hold it? Can you push it in?
You make tennis noises?
Oh yeah. Melt that plastic. There it is. Amazing. So is that all our heat sets done?
We got a couple more on the wheels.
A couple more on the wheels, but we do have the gearbox shrouds, holders. What do we call these?
Those are drive frames.
Drive frames.
Ooh, no, we missed a big one.
Ah, well I did prep this one actually.
Look at that.
Yeah, well let's do those ones then.
All
Let's
right.
pop that in there. I'll whip the...
Look at that.
They're all done. Happy with that. We've got the front. Again, there's those two just in here. We've got the frames. We've got this frame. Again, two on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the front there. And then we've got the the gearbox holders, which are going together just like that.
And these are labeled motor mounts.
Yeah. And I noticed when we were printing these, there's some small ones and then there's some slightly larger ones. So it's the larger ones that you want for this kit. And what I'm saying about larger is basically this is slightly larger. So it comes off about here. They're slightly smaller than the other ones, but this is the one you want. The bigger one is the one that you want. Bigger is better in this case. So
the other ones are there for self-sourcing parts.
Yeah.
And what you would get for gearboxes off Amazon or AliExpress.
exactly. Cool.
So I think we're good.
So that's good. So we've got all these parts done. And again, you know, you're going to be seeing this assembly going like this. But as far as I'm aware, regarding heat inserts, and other than the ones that we just need to do inside of the wheels, which we do now, I think we're pretty much there with heat inserts. So let's move on to the second part of track building.
Let's do it.
Okay. So that was the heat inserts. We're done with those. They're looking pretty good. We're going to move aside for that, and we're going to get on to the tracks now, and the track building. These are these little TPU jobbies here. We're going to show you how to assemble those, and that's coming up in this next clip. Okay, so on this build plate right here, we have some TPU tracks. We need 32 on each side, which is actually 4 more than we originally had on the version 1 of this. Again, TPU, what's your settings that you like to use here for these?
I like 3 walls, 10% infill.
One thing I have found is if you do these too thick and they're too hard, it puts too much resistance on the gearbox and the motor, and ultimately the ESC. So you can get smoking out of the ESC if you don't print these correctly. If you do them too loose and there's too much movement, of course they fly off.
I can show you that. This one right here.
Yep.
I actually need to address this later. Oops. This one is 90, and I did this. I think it was 3 walls 10.
Right.
And this is
wow.
far too stretchy.
Yeah.
So I don't even need to take this apart to pull the tracks off it. Just
God.
peel it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not what you want to see.
No, I've gone the other way. So I've got some tracks that are far, far too hard. The printable AMS stuff is just like printing. It's TPU, but it feels like you're printing PLA.
Yep. In fact, this is actually off. These tracks are off of one of your old racers.
Right.
And you can see these by comparison.
Yeah.
They want to stay on there.
Yeah.
They're not going to fall off.
Well, those are the OG ones. So those were printed on the MK3 Prusa. So they're really old. That's years old.
But they're
still
fine.
Working. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So what we're going to do, we've got the pins here. Again, these come in the kit. You will need 4 more than you actually do get in the kit. But we're now going to assemble these right in front of your eyes. So let's get straight to that. So here we go, 32 each of those, and then obviously we're going to need 2 more pins just to close those off. One for you, one for me. And we did 2 different ways of putting these together. I used a hammer. You
lost my build plate.
You used, oh really? Has it gone down the side?
I didn't even know there was a gap there.
Uh-oh. Okay. We'll address that in a minute. So 32 on each side. There are a ton of different ways that you can do this. There isn't a jig, but people have been asking about a jig to hold tracks in place so you can knock them in. Might be a thing, could be. Maybe someone wants to come up with that. But these are the tracks. That was super easy. What should we do next? Should we do the gearbox assembly?
Yep, I think that's probably next, and we'll have the whole drive base done.
Gearbox assembly is up next. Here we go. Okay, so the next bit we're going to be talking about is the gearboxes and the gearbox assembly. What you have here is a 550 motor. There is a shroud around this, and up until quite recently, I didn't know what the shroud was for. And it's basically something to do with magnets. So it keeps all the magnetic field inside of that. That's the reason that you need to have that on there. Now, basically what will happen is this is a gearbox, and we'll do some close zooms on that in a minute. Basically, this will sit on top of that. With these particular files, as we said earlier on, what you used to have to do was cut these. You get your Dremel out, you just whip the ends off, and the same with this one as well. With this kit, you don't need that, because what we do is we take this apart, we end up installing this on here. That then sandwiches down onto the gear, and we put all this together like that. Inside of our kit as well, there will be a little gear, which
it's not out yet.
Is not out yet. So we're going to find that. Here it is. There it is. There's a little gear, and what we need to do is basically push that on top of this. Now, in my previous gearbox video, I showed a way that I normally do it, which is with a back end of a screwdriver and you whack it in. Now, people have been doing that method, which I've done pretty much for maybe 20 or 30 Deathracers. Never had an issue with it, but for some reason people are cracking the gears. So I don't know if it's the gear or if it's the method or if people are going a little bit hard with it, but the push method is certainly the better way of doing it. And all you need to do with this particular one is basically just make sure that that just sits real pretty on the end there. And when you assemble it, just make sure you're turning everything just to make sure that the screws that you're putting in, nothing's too tight. So just make sure you've got full movement. Have you got any ways that you would suggest doing this?
I do tap the spur gears on there as well.
Okay.
But what I would like to try to do is support that back.
Oh, you do it on that?
We can zoom in a little bit too.
Yep.
Yeah, so if you just whack away at this, that shaft runs all the way through and you can actually see this start pushing out. So what I do is I support the back end like that.
Yep.
Make sure that that's nice and level on there, because that's the biggest thing, is making sure that that is sitting flush and not off at a weird angle like technically it is now.
Yep.
Before tapping it.
Yep, because if these break, then it's new gears. Now, I think BigTreeTech moving on and moving forward with these, I don't know if on these kits we had another, because they said they were going to start putting some extras in. So I don't know if we've got...
Yeah.
Oh, you have?
We do.
Okay, so we've got extra gears in here anyway.
We have 4 gears.
So if we do break one, BigTreeTech are already ahead of the game with this. So let's get a zoom in on this and let's look at a couple of different methods. Let's do it.
Let's do it. I need a hammer.
Here's a hammer.
Well, like I said before, is I try to support the back end of the shaft here, because this will push that way as you tap this side. So I set that on a 1, 2, 3 block or something hard. Make sure the spur gear is sitting nice and level before applying any pressure to it. You just gently try to tap it on. And the gear is actually tilting a little bit like this as I tap it. It's trying to find center. It's not going on.
I think it is slowly.
It's going, but I don't
slow.
remember it being this.
It's because you're doing it on camera.
Oh. And then just make sure that that gear is nice and flush with the top of that drive shaft, and
I normally give it a spin just to make sure it's not going to come off.
Make sure nothing's
That's cool.
buggered up. And then the back end of that shaft is still nice and flush where it's supposed to be. So that one is done.
Awesome.
What do you do?
Well, I normally get the back end of a screwdriver and whack it on, but I don't know if you've got the kind of screwdriver that we have in the UK, which is a big fat end on it.
Big fat
Have you got one with a...
I got a big thick screwdriver for you.
Let's get that then, and I'll show you my technique. So I'm just going to push that on as much as we can. And yeah, I'm just going to whack it on there and see what happens. But I've not broken one of these yet, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. Have you got...
Is that fat enough?
Oh, that is a nice big fat end you've got on that. So again, I would probably suggest doing Ryan's way, but my...
Ta-da!
But obviously I didn't support the shaft at the back. So sometimes you need to give it a little love tap on the back. There you go. So that's 2 methods on how to do that.
How do we do? We crack it all?
I don't think so. I mean, usually you'd feel it. You'd feel.
It would have gone on real easy.
Yeah. So yeah, again, if you do crack them, they just slide on.
Yeah.
So that just won't be any good. Okay, so next up we've got the dry frames, but we're just going to say a quick thank you to our friends over at PCBWay.com,
where innovation meets quality. Whether it's custom PCBs, 3D printing or CNC machining, they have got you covered, bringing your ideas to life with fast and reliable service, perfect for creators just like you. Visit PCBWay.com to start building today.
So here we are back with our dry frames. We've now got our gearbox, motor and assembly all done, and it's looking wonderful. We've also got this heat insert. Dry frame is all done as well. We've got the cables in the right position. So all we should really have to do now is just
slide them together.
Slide it on in.
And figure out what size bolts we're gonna need.
That's great, isn't it? Look at that.
Not so bad.
That was easy.
All the room, no cutting.
Yep. And that's nice, isn't it? That looks, that does look wonderful.
And that'll work with different gearboxes too. So if Jeremy found some gearboxes on Amazon that are a bit longer.
Right.
And they still fit.
Jeremy's a good guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I love him.
Love Jeremy to bits. Again, there's a lot of people in the background of this project. It's not just me or Michael or Ryan. There's a lot of people in the background that have put countless amounts of hours into this. So thank you guys. Really appreciate all the efforts that's been put on. Don't forget you can check that out over on our Discord if you want to be speaking to the people that are involved with the projects. Well, they're there hanging out all the time.
All the time.
Exactly. Cool. So where should we go next with this? Because we just need to mount these screws.
Yep.
What are we saying is the size of the screws for this?
That's a great question.
That's coming up.
I have to look to these instructions that Jeremy painstakingly wrote out.
Imagine if he was here right now.
Wouldn't that be great?
It'd be, yeah.
Can we just get him on this TV back here?
Oh, that would be great. Food for thought. Unfortunately, Jeremy couldn't be here today.
Can we superimpose a picture of him back there?
Let's get a picture of Jeremy just in the background right now. We'll just have him here like a god.
Just looking over the shoulder. It's right there, idiot. Read the manual.
A few moments later.
There it is. M3x12s. They were
12.
staring at me the entire time.
That feels like a 12 there. Is that 12?
You want to confirm? We have the tools.
We do.
We have the technology.
Printables.
I should figure out who did that because I love this thing.
Oh.
Mark, mark.
That's like half that size. It's like an 8.
Jeez, if that's what you think 12 mil is.
Oh, baby.
Might not have 12s in this one. Yeah, because that's 14 will do.
14 it is. 14 it is. Oh, thanks. Okay, so there's 4 of these, 2 on each side. We've already got the heat inserts all ready to rock and roll. Going to pop those in, just line everything up.
Oh, did I short you one? I shorted you 2.
There's one down here, it's fine.
Oh, you got
that. Turning. Now, a lot of the time what I like to do is just make sure I put some power through that. I'm confident this is going to be fine.
Yeah.
But normally what I would do, at this time I probably would have put a battery on there, or just before I had mounted this, I would have just made sure that it was spinning and working. We're not going to do that because we're confident that this is all going to work and be fine. But the next thing we need is bearings. So there's 4 bearings that insert into each of these, just in here, here, and on the other side. And then we can basically get prepared to put our wheels together.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Also, there is a spot to put a zip tie here if we want to do a little bit of cable management to keep them away from
Let's do that.
wheels.
Let's do that now. Let's go and pop these in. Now, I have found in some cases, these, sometimes there's a little bit of slop. And again, that's going to depend on your printer settings. It doesn't really matter. Oh, that one literally just fell straight out.
Well, that might matter.
So just make sure they go in effortlessly. Now we are waiting on one more wheel to be printed.
It might be done. Do you think?
I can still hear a printer whirring. So let's assemble your one first.
Sure. The one that doesn't have bearings in it yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Pop those. Okay, that worked.
I like that. Let's get a zoom in on that.
Oh, sure, they don't want to come out now. Those just pop in. Careful that they don't just pop out. There's that.
Yep.
So now what we want to do is we want to get this geared one, this front wheel on. And that one's going to mesh with our drive gear up front here. Whoops. You know what? We're just going to let those ones stay right out. This is a good time to make sure that your gear mesh is right. It shouldn't be binding. It should be nice and smooth. This one feels about right. If the gear wasn't quite meshing enough, you could get in there and adjust your flange coupling with, what is it, the 2.5?
Yep.
Yeah. This one feels good though, so we're gonna just pop this on, and it's as simple as that. And it doesn't want to go in for me. Super simple. There it goes.
There you go.
Twists. Still happy?
Excellent.
Still happy. Now, those gears. Do you want to put some grease in them? Sometimes, a lot of the ones that I put together, I put grease in there. And that quiets it down a little bit, makes it last a little bit longer, but does kind of make a mess sometimes. So, just got some general purpose white lithium grease and a disgusting Q-tip that's been in there far too long. And I just put a whole bunch on the drive gears.
That is a lot of grease.
Oh yeah, it's nice and nasty. And then rotate the heck out of it so that it coats both gears well. And then
wipe off the excess?
Yeah, that's right. Just get rid of the extra junk that doesn't need to be there. I'm not wiping it off the gear, I'm wiping it off the wheel next to the gear.
Yep.
Just so that it doesn't make quite as big of a mess. But yeah, that will help with some of the noise too. There we go.
Excellent. Okay, just to whip that one on. Easy peasy. We don't need any grease for that.
We do not.
We'll use that later though.
Now, so here's where we could deviate a little bit with how you would put the tracks on versus how I put the tracks on.
Yes.
You put the tracks on after, whoops.
Oh, that's right. So yeah, so I put the tracks on afterwards.
Puts the tracks on after, wraps them around, and slides the pin through.
Yeah.
A little bit off. So what I would do is I would just send this wheel through the frame, leave it there for now, just like that. Then grab my main frame, and I would attach it just like that, leaving this rear wheel off until I'm ready to put the tracks on. So, I mean, that's entirely up to you if you want to do it this way or if you want to do it that way.
You can do it either way.
No. But if you wanted to just do the pod,
yep,
the way you would normally do it,
sure,
so that we can kind of separate the frame from whatever. So anyway,
Pop that on, whip that in.
whip it in. Oops, that's the wrong one.
It's just so basically here we can just show that this has been fully built.
Right.
And then the next part will be how do we then attach it
Yep.
to the frame.
I only brought one of those over here.
Okay.
Oh, a little bit tight. So, boop, that's on there, good to go. That is the drive pod,
Yep.
motor mount, motor frame,
The drive pod.
this guy.
The drive pod.
Complete. And that zip tie, you can see, it kind of directs,
Just pulls things out of the way.
yeah, it just pulls them out of the way so it doesn't get all hung up on
Brilliant.
your wheel.
Top notch. That is brilliant. Okay, so let's get the other one done
Okay.
and we'll move forward. Do your thing.
Wait a minute.
There we go.
Excellent. So the next part is going to be attaching these to the frame, and we'll get straight on into that one just after this. Right then, the next part of this is going to be attaching the drive frames to the main frame. Here it is. This looks
Yeah.
cool. How do you normally assemble this? Do you normally put the bottom on first, or do you just drop it straight in?
Yeah, do not put the bottom on first because we got a lot of work to do in there with
Okay.
electronics and stuff. So we need some carbon fiber rods.
We sure do. Which way are you putting these round? We're going to come on this
So
way.
it kind of matches
It
up.
has to match, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Into here. Okay, that's cool.
So first what I do is I send these through the frame.
Okay,
So they're just there.
gotcha. Okay, let's do that then.
And then we're looking for M3x12s.
Pretty good going.
Not so bad.
Here we go.
That.
That's the frame put together. That looks good.
Want some tracks on it?
Let's get the tracks on.
Okay.
Next up, we've got the tracks. So we spoke about different ways of putting on tracks, but which way are we going to do this time?
Let's do your way first.
Okay, so my way is basically by putting it over the top here. What we look to do is just make sure that the tracks are on the outside, as the track pins are on the outside. And all I do is just pull this round, and we should be able to get into a position where everything pulls tight. And
Unless we forgot our tread.
unless we forgot a tread. And then all I do then is just pop this one in, just like that.
Pliers?
I will use the pliers, yes, thank you. And then we just pop that in there, just like that. And then probably just give it a little push. And we're on.
There's
So
that.
that's the way that I do it. You do it a different way.
Slightly different, yep.
Okay.
So I pull this back wheel off here. Doo-doo. I can get to it. Can't see what I'm doing.
Apparently it's easier my way for the camera.
So I pop that back wheel off and then slide this on here like this. And just kind of index the treads. There. Do it all the way you want to do it. So, do we have a stopwatch? Who won?
Hang on. So there we go, we got the tracks on. There's two different ways of doing it. Which way was better? Let us know in the comments which you thought was better, my way or Ryan's way. Let's find out what the results are. Cool, so what do we got to do next?
Let's put a body on it.
Let's put a body on
part
it.
of the frame together.
Okay, well that's gonna be easy.
So, wow, and we're done.
Exactly. Thank you for watching.
You are watching a master.
No, let's get on. So what size screws are these going to be? Because there's a couple of things here. There's some screws to go up, which fits into the front, which kind of clicks on. I like the way this works. You click it onto the front, but then it also then joins. Because originally we had two little, they were just rubbish, weren't they really? It was just two little parts that you just interconnect.
It was two little pieces that basically held this part to this part together.
Yep.
And you essentially kind of put it over there like this, and then two bolts hold that whole top part on.
Yep.
We've changed it a little bit so that the rear end and the front end are a little bit easier to interchange.
Yep.
And you can assemble the whole rear and leave the front entirely off, and vice versa. Actually, the instructions call for the front end to go on first, but you wanted to do that after, right?
Yeah, so what we want to show is that there are, on the Piranha files, there are a certain different number of front ends now that you can put onto this. One is called the Hammerhead, one is called Catan, and another one is called the...
Well, we're bringing the Gravedigger back eventually. Still in testing.
Exciting stuff. But again, but at the moment, we're going to go with the Piranha size, but we're going to also show you that you can put different fronts on, and that's really the only difference. So people have been messaging me, messaging you, I'm sure, saying, well, what front goes on what, and what goes with what. But again, the instructions are strictly for the Piranha, which is the little fish face on this one. But again, you know, as we move forward, there will be differences. Like this one is the Hammerhead, and this one,
the Prusa one, right?
Over here, this is the Catan, right?
It is.
There we go. So slightly different fronts on these, slightly different noses, and again, you can customize them however you wish to. But for this one, we're going to be rolling forward with this. So we might as well put that together.
Sure.
Do you normally put the front on and then put all the servos and stuff in?
I put all the stuff on that, and then...
Gotcha. Okay, but if you just want to put the...
So what we're doing with this is we got to basically set this aside for a second and assemble some parts on this before this can attach.
Yep.
So we can just chuck her over there. Need that. We're going to need a seat. We're going to need a... Oh, we need that too at some point. Yep. Where's the seat base? There's the seat base. All of our bright, fancy colors.
Oh, yep.
That guy. Yep. We need the top. We're gonna need the servo. Nice.
And we're gonna need some little parts in here as well. This guy. There we go. Cool.
Awesome.
So, in order to get this next part done, I'm just gonna take the 25 kilo servo out. It does only mount one way, which is where the cables go. There's a little indent there for that. I'm just going to thread that through.
Yep.
Popping through, just like that. And then we're going to have some screws that go in there. And that does screw straight into that part. And do we have screws that you have?
They should come with a kit. So there's a bag that's got a bunch of plastic servo horns.
Yep. Which is this one?
That one, yeah. And this is going to have all the parts that we need for that servo. So with that servo, I'm sorry, I'm undoing all of your hard work. I put these little rubber grommets in there.
Oh, I never do that.
You've never done that?
No.
Oh. Am I doing it wrong?
I don't know. I'm sure that's where they go. I just never have.
I throw all the rubber grommets in there. There should be one more. It's a mystery. There it is.
Stuck in the bag.
So those go in there first. And the last one wants to fight. Alright, now with that done, I'll redo what I've undone of Sam's hard work.
Story of my life.
Alright, then we have these little servo screws. Thread it into the plastic. Phillips heads. And probably going to start them all before I get crazy. Crank them right down.
Yep.
these screws you kind of need to pay attention to a little bit. Because they're Phillips, they are prone to stripping out.
Or snapping.
Or snapping
Yeah.
if you don't send them in the hole correctly. So, and a decent amount of pressure kind of helps the stripping issue. And then just making sure that your screwdriver's angled correctly helps the snapping in half issue.
Yeah. I've had it just when I'm tightening it up. The last little bit, as I'm tightening it up, the whole head just snaps. I'm like, oh my
and
God.
there's no replacing that. That's just, you can either reprint it or...
And then you're down a screw.
Yeah. No, I've actually thought I wanted to change that too, because these holes are big enough. We could put an M3 in there instead.
Or you could put something over the top and it just locks in.
Right. Heck, I mean, you could even design maybe a post or something. This slits into and then...
Yep.
There's always places to improve.
Yep. So in the next iteration, you'll find...
All right, that's good.
That's good. Okay, so
good.
where does that sit on top of then now?
Then we would take that, slide that down in here, making sure that you don't pinch the wire. Flip it over, and we got to put a few bolts in there. And then from there, I'm going to want to put the bracket on, I think.
Yep.
The servo horn.
Let's get a close up on that. Okay.
So with the servo horn, it's going to come with these itty bitty bolts. And those are sized 1.5. I like to get those started before I do anything else with them, just because they're kind of finicky to play with. It's a lot easier to do it right now. Do a servo tester and make sure that it's centered there before we...
Can do.
All right, I'm gonna grab a battery and test it real quick.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the servo tester. It's not something that we get in the kit, but it's something you definitely like to do.
I do. I think it makes it a little bit easier. So instead of getting this thing all together and later figuring out the angle of the boom, I plug this in now, and that just allows me to control where that servo's position is. And that basically just centered it. So now I can assemble the rest of this and know that when I go to plug this in later, this bracket or servo horn is going to be
Dead center.
in the right position.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Like that.
Next, we gotta tighten the servo horn down to the servo. 1.5.
A little bitty one.
Itty bitty. Crank her right down good. And then we're gonna whack the boom bracket up top. And that uses an M3. Oops. An M3, but oh, that's right. It has a hole in it. I forgot. Thank you, BigTreeTech.
No worries. Got my rod out for you. Here we go.
Okay, so BigTreeTech was kind enough to put holes in the carbon fiber, which is nice. Make sure which side goes where. I would say that's that side.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
All
right.
right. So you send that rod all the way down with those holes facing up. Make sure it, you see through it. M3 by 25 goes through the bracket, through the rod, into the top of the servo horn, not with that hole, not with that driver. That driver. And just crank that right down.
One screw. There used to be that 3 in that at one
Yeah,
point.
that's it. That's all I need. Good and tight.
Excellent. That's good. Are we to whack the end on?
Why not?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
The bludger.
The bludger. So I'm gonna do holes facing up on this one, and I need to double check and see. I think that's M3 by 20s. I think it's 20s. All right, so that's gonna thread through the top part of the bludger, through the carbon fiber rod, and into a slightly smaller hole on the other side of the bludger. Tightens down. There's that.
Easy. That's
Yeah.
looking to do some damage. That's great. Okay, so pop this on next.
Now we can slide that through. Yep. We're gonna use 3. What are these guys? These are M3x8s. Those. Just go like that. It's lined up. Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe not.
There it is.
There we go. Okay, let's show the camera. Here we go. There's 3 little bolts in there. 1, 2, 3.
This is like DeathRacer Twister.
It is, isn't
You gotta
it?
put your left hand there.
Yep.
And I gotta put my right hand here.
That's it.
And then the leg goes up like this. And then the screw goes in.
We got to do tomorrow. Maybe when we do the stream, we got to do the most extreme way of building a gearbox.
Oh no.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's Steve upside down and Zombie's got to push it. Like, you know, like there's people that do like golf. And you got to hold the tee in the mouth.
Oh. So take it back. It's not 3.
Oh, there's 2 of one and 1 of another, right?
It is, because it's a little bit longer here.
Okay.
That one I believe is is it 12?
12. Okay, so the 2 at the top are
8s.
8s. Okay.
That's what we use,
8
I
at the
think.
top, 12 at the bottom.
And after that, you can either glue those boosters in.
Yep.
Or put the seat on.
I think we'll glue the boosters in quickly.
Yeah.
And I'll just show a close up of this just to show what we're talking about. So there we go, we've got 2 at the top here, if we can get that to focus. There we go. 2 at the top, 1 at the bottom. 8 at the top, 12 at the bottom.
Nice.
Easy. Okay, so are you using 3D Gloop?
I could.
Let's use 3D Gloop.
Okay.
Let's use 3D Gloop. So we've got these rocket boosters just to pop in the back here. We normally glue those in, but we're not going to use super glue. No, we're going to use a 3D Gloop. And there's only one type of 3D Gloop. That's from Andrew and Andrew from 3D Gloop. There it is, brand new in the box. Look at that.
Look at that.
So this doesn't just glue, this chemically bonds the prints. So again, if you're building a DeathRacer, you'll probably want to get some Gloop as well. We're hoping to bring them in to do some stuff with the DeathRacers as well. Wouldn't it be great if you had a box of stuff and then you had a little baby Gloop in there just to fix little things, finesse it? But it's going to be super easy. We're going to give it a little shake. Do you want to do the honours?
No, I'd like you to.
You'd like me to?
I would.
Smother the Gloop on the on those little rocket boosters. We're not going to use too much. I'm just going to put a bit on there. Look at that. Whoa, nearly dropped that. That could have been a disaster. There we go. Just going to slide that in. Oh, we've used a little bit too much.
We'll pull it out, stick that back in. Use that one on the other side.
That's a good idea. Go on then, do you want to insert it?
How am I doing?
You're doing well. Just like
Look at
that. 3D Gloop. Make sure you put the top back on. We don't want that evaporating before our very eyes. That was easy. That's like the easiest part of this whole build. So next though, we do have the seat and the seat cover extension. 2 little parts here.
I believe that's labeled as seat base.
Seat base. And again, we've got 3 little screws to pop into that. What size are these? Like
They are,
6?
you're right.
They are, you're quite right.
I believe those are also 8s.
So we've got 1, 2, and 3 for that, and then we've got 1, 2, and 3 for the top part there. So 6 screws in total, and that's where our driver, as Ryan just said, will slot in. Looking good. Okay, so next.
Next, I think we're gonna attach that to the top, you're right.
Just like that.
Yeah.
So let's drag him on back. What size screws are you using for this? I'm guessing a 6.
Hey, let's do 8s,
Let's do 8s.
because they're right here. I'll double check while you screw those in there, but I'm pretty sure they're 8s.
There we go.
We have need for Gloop again.
Do we?
We do.
Why is that?
So we got this back panel
Oh yeah,
and the little grill that goes in it.
we have. Can't wait for this bit.
Dang.
How do you glue?
A little bit of foresight.
Do you run this around the inside and then just drop it on?
Yeah,
That's what I do as well.
maybe a little bit less. If it was full of it.
That's it.
Maybe. Is it enough?
I would guess so.
Good thing we're well ventilated here in my basement.
Absolutely. Let's pop that on before it dries. There we go. Easy. That was simple enough, wasn't it? So we're going to put that there for the moment.
Yep.
So what do you want to do next?
Well, do you want to do the front end now?
We can do the front end.
Look at
We
that.
might need some more gloop for the eyes then.
We sure do.
So do we need 3D gloop? Yes, we do. We've got a few things here. Obviously the rocket boosters at the back, the little compartment here, I guess it's an air gap, this is it?
Yeah.
Breather air gap, and of course the eyes as well for the piranha.
So we get the eyes and the grill actually. We need it.
Oh yeah.
A little bit of love. And where are our eyes? There they are.
This is looking sharp though, isn't it? Look at that.
It's kind of fun, right?
It looks so good. So good. Wonderful.
So.
Yep. So you're gonna. How aggressive does that look? Mr. Piranha? Love that. That's cool, isn't it?
Nice.
Very cool.
Before we put that on, we should
Yes.
throw the fan in there though.
You put fans in. I don't normally put fans in,
Yeah, why not?
but we can do that. Where are you going to put it? Mount it in the front.
Yeah.
So let's pop the front on now. And again, we've got 2 bolts here. They're already pre-heat inserted, so to speak. Pop that on here and in and on, and should we?
If you tilt that towards you a little bit, you'll see that there's a little ridge underneath that, and then kind of clip it back up over.
Yep.
Should go.
You see that?
Maybe it doesn't want to. Let's double check that there's a wire trying to get in between
Peek
here.
in. Yep. Does it snap or does it?
It doesn't necessarily snap, but it does fit tight. That way, those 2 bolts are all that's needed to hold it there.
Yep.
And if you would like, throw a couple of those 2 bolts in the bottom.
I would love to. Two. Excellent
Sweet.
work. Look at that. Wonderful. So, here we go. Let's put some screws on. Let's put it in. Offset Maker Lab. Look at all this lovely stuff here, look. Facebook group, the lot, look at that.
Sam Prentice Discord channel, Michael Badley's Patreon, we got it all.
Wow, that is crazy.
But anyway, you want to find more information?
Dude, that
we'll have
looks
that.
stunning.
I love it. It looks
Doesn't
like a
that
race
look
car,
great?
right? With all the different sponsors on it.
That's insane.
That's cool. It's so cool seeing it together. I mean, I've had these things down here for, what, a month now in all these different boxes. There's 7 more of these. This is number 1 of 7. And they all have their own unique color scheme and side panels, so.
That's just wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, so what do we want to do next? The rider, maybe?
Probably the rider.
Okay.
And then once the rider's done, we can get to electronics.
Let's reset and let's get the rider on. Rider, one of these little fellas.
Oh, yeah.
Guy looks like he's...
As you're about to start talking about it, I've removed
Just
it.
put it away. I was just like, I'm going to grab that and show you guys. So this is the rider. Assume the position. He is basically going to sit on here. But this isn't the rider for this particular model, of course.
That's a Fiberon rider.
It is.
We need a Panchroma rider.
Let's get the Panchroma rider out. Now, you've done a little bit of assembly there. What do you call some of these parts? I mean, I call these his underpants because he has those pants. Oh. And then you've got the kind of 2...
I called that his codpiece.
His codpiece. Okay, well, I like that as well. So you've got the codpiece, you've got these 2 parts here, and everything basically just slides together. This is one of the parts of the DeathRacer that ends up being quite confusing because of the way that it naturally looks to sit, and it defies the laws of physics.
There's kind of a process to putting it together too.
There
You
is.
can't just start.
As we said at the very beginning, of course, there is a switch that goes in the top. Yep. We're using a different switch.
We are. Yep. We're doing something different.
And the reason we're using the different switch is because we feel that we found a bit of a problem that in some cases, some of the BigTreeTech switches, the way we wire them versus the way that BigTreeTech assumes we would wire them are slightly different. So we're running ampage through, and in some cases it melts the plastic element that's inside of the toggle switch. So, are they the same? Do they look the same?
They're slightly different, but I was just looking at this. I thought that was interesting. This is 15 amp as well.
Yep.
So that shouldn't burn.
Is it-
But this was having a problem loosening up too.
Okay.
I'm not sure. They look pretty dang close, don't they?
Yeah.
Near identical. It's just different posts. Strange.
It is. Okay, well, look, we're using our new switch anyway. That means we're basically going to have to disassemble this for a second.
Yeah.
Here you go, done. So Ryan is now going to do some soldering.
Yeah.
Why are we doing soldering?
So I want to attach this wire to our other switch, and this is some thicker wire than what comes with this switch. This is real skinny stuff, and that could potentially be a problem, so I don't use that.
So we want to use the thicker gauge cable to make sure that we're not going to get any burn-ups on the ESC or the motors or any other parts inside of the racer. And this is, I think, one of the big problems that we have when we're doing the Deathracers now is that people are perhaps using the wrong gauge of wire. Now, is that 12 or 16 you're using there?
This is 14.
It's 14, okay, well, I was nearly right.
double
I'm nearly
check.
half right.
It's 14. Okay, it says I probably ought to grab a voltmeter real quick. I want to double check before I do
Yeah,
that.
so it does say on and off on that, but you can never
It
quite
does,
tell.
yeah.
Yeah. It's worrying, isn't it?
Oh, look at that. Wouldn't that be convenient if that was in the kit?
What's that?
Glue?
This is what we want. 3D Gloop. Please make this happen.
You have power. There we go. All right. Just want to double check. This should be on. If I do this one and that one. Perfect.
That's what we wanted.
All of that just to double check. So, riders heads forward, be on, that's off. So, our red and black wires don't necessarily matter that much to this because it's essentially both positive. First, I want to tin this a little bit. This is weird, I've never soldered out here. Yeah, it's climbing. Wow! Already at 400. That's nuts.
It's bonkers. Honestly, I can't believe how good that is. I think everybody needs to own one of those things, and links will be in the description for the power bank, which again is from Anker, and this soldering iron is next level. So next up we blowtorch the cables, just for added dexterity.
Yeah, put some heat shrink on there.
Yep.
Hide them. Okay, now that that's settled, then we can get this up in the rider's torso. Right in there, and we should have a nut somewhere. I guess we're done with all that junk.
Let's pop these over here. Do you use one nut or two?
I usually take it with one.
Okay.
Do you use two?
I do sometimes, yes.
Just to jam it in there real
Yeah,
good?
just, you know, I don't want that switch coming off, right?
I mean, there's plenty of nuts, I guess.
Yep.
And there you go. Would you like another one on there?
I don't mind, you know, it's up to you.
Hey, I'm still learning. So you do things a little bit differently
I do.
than I do, then Steve does, then I'm sure Jeremy and Josh,
Yeah.
Rich, everyone. Everyone does it a little bit differently, and it's not a bad idea to try something someone else's way, because just like with the treads there, put that on.
Yeah, what do you call that? What would you call that particular way of doing it?
What's your way?
Yeah.
The right way?
No, no. I'm not saying that. I mean,
No.
so if you were to give it a name, I'd call that the double nut. What would you call the track?
Everyone likes a double nut, you know? Well, that's just a way of putting your rubber on different.
Sure, it is. It absolutely is. Yeah.
See, I like sliding it over the top.
And I like just jamming it in. So, both ways work though. That's the thing. Deathracers, let us know what you think in the comments below on how you prefer to do all of these different things. But the double nut is for the win on this one, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. So
the next thing is we're gonna take our diaper.
Yep. Yep.
So this one's a little bit different now. The torso sides have these little ridges on them, and that's gonna help hold it into the seat so the rider doesn't flop out the front.
Yep.
But because of those little ridges are there,
You have to put them in
you
first.
have to put it together a little bit differently,
Yep.
right? So let's just send this guy down here. Sorry, there's one side that goes.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember.
So
Backwards.
Yeah, I normally take the
Do
whole.
these.
Yeah, that's the way I do it. Yeah, slide those in
Send it
first.
through. Yeah. Yeah. So now we can start throwing hardware in there.
Yep.
Get it secure.
So there are some screws on here that need to go in first. There's one here, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3, and then the arms and the legs then basically just join on, don't they? Now, I haven't seen the faces for this one yet.
This is just a stock one, standard one.
Okay.
This is the original Michael Badley face, which doesn't look anything like Michael Badley, so.
No, it doesn't, does it?
He got himself scanned recently.
I saw that.
There's STLs out.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if, I was a bit frightened by that STL actually. I saw it, I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not.
He could be made a DeathRacer head though.
He absolutely could. But now we also have a scanner here. So hopefully you guys are we might be able to get some scanning done this weekend.
That'd be awesome.
Imagine such a thing.
Yeah.
Knock my glasses off. That could be interesting.
That's an M3x18.
Yep.
Why don't we dive that in there and see if that fits? That looks
What you
right.
mean?
No, we've thrown instructions to the wind at this point. Oops.
Well, no, the thing is, it's with this kind of stuff, this part is kind of whatever works. The intricate part is, on the Deathracer, getting things working and right there. Again, if you have screws that are too long, they then start butting up against each other on this. I've been known to cut the end of the screw off and then just fire it straight in, just because when you're in the moment, you're just getting something done, and you're working on this for. All right, we've been doing this maybe a couple of hours, but we kind of know what we're doing. Someone that hasn't done it before, if you haven't got the right hardware, have I used the wrong screw in the wrong thing? We don't want people to feel like, you can't just do what you want to do. So if you need to snip it, snip it.
The other thing to consider too is this kit, this Piranha revision, and the instructions do have a slight difference in hardware too than what the version 1 kits have.
Yep.
So, all right. So
Legs and arms and legs.
there's a thigh for you.
Thank you.
Thigh for you.
What are you banging into that one then?
I would think.
It'll go.
Yeah. Send it. You want a sheet?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to screw it in manually, like they did in the old days.
Back when our fathers were building Deathracers.
That's it.
That's
it.
Good. I'm gonna have that ready though, because I know when we do the stream, Steve's gonna cheat.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a big fan of as
Power
fast
tools.
as he can.
Power tools. I like that. them off. Yep.
There we go.
So there we go. That's his arms.
We're running out of parts.
For the sake of the camera, we'll do a nice zoom.
Go on ahead.
There he is. There he is with his little arms. We will grab a head. Let's grab this. Glue. Weird old squat that, isn't it? Next, we're going to insert him into the racer. Yeah, they are now. There he is. You happy?
You can loosen the legs just a little bit, and then he will sit down the rest of the way, and then you can retighten the legs.
Ah, okay.
And he'll kind of hug the seat a little bit better. Let's do this. And then crunch.
Nice.
And now he's pretty stuck on there, so hopefully that'll keep these guys on, because they've had a habit of kind of
Popping off.
flying off the front end there.
Yeah. So arms next. So in
Yeah.
the little control parts here, as I say, we did assemble this in a certain way. If you do it the wrong way, then basically the arms will sit out further than they need to. But we just got to pop in a couple of little screws there. Do you want to do the honours on that one?
Sure. I believe these are M3x6s. They don't have to be very long at all. Just kind of line up the holes in the hands. And you don't have to tighten these down all the way either, because you want there to be enough free movement so he can move his hands forward and back.
Any restriction gives it that servo. I mean, they're tiny little servos anyway. They move grams. They don't move kilos.
Right. There we go. Cool.
How cool is that?
Look at this little guy.
Love that.
Looks like I went a little bit nuts with the colors there. The body's
It's
a little excessive.
It's bright, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
definitely
a little
bright.
excessive.
So we're going to move on now to the electronics.
Cool.
Let's pause this here and we'll pick that up next.
Good deal.
Cool. So in a final push towards the end here, we now have the racer pretty much ready to go now, other than the electronics.
Let's make a move.
So let's talk a little bit about the electronics, if we can. Let's start with the battery. 7.4 volt, not 7.2, 7.4 volt, and it's an S2 battery. Do you know anything about what the ATC stands for?
I don't.
Okay, that's to do with the charging rate and how much charge it will either go to or it will dissipate by. So we don't need to worry too much about that, but the 5200 versions are what I use, or bigger, 6500, whatever, and that just means that it will run a little bit longer. Typically these racers...
Brought to you by PCBWay.
Brought to you by PCBWay there. Let's stick that back up because it's an important thing. Let's put it there. We knew that was going to happen at some point.
We did.
We just didn't expect it to
That's
happen.
when it happened.
Yeah, just when we're talking about
ready.
batteries. Power. Anyway, the type of connector that you want is an XT60 because that plugs into our little ESC that's here. So we lead on to that. So basically, you don't really need anything bigger than the 52. And if you do, then that's great, but it's not really going to assist you with anything. It's not going to give you any extra power. But 7.4 volts is what you want to be looking for. And it does need an XT60 connector, which is this orange one on the end. So I'll put that to one side. Anything from...
Well, I was just going to add that really these races aren't that long.
No.
You know, you could probably last an entire day on that.
Could be.
And we have, well, they were the 11.1s in the Mechanism racers, but we've been driving those things around all day long, never recharged it.
Really?
Just, yeah.
Just works.
It's plenty.
So that's the battery. What about the ESC? What do you know about that?
It's square.
Yep.
There's some dangly bits over here.
There are.
And some more on this side, but they're bigger dangly bits.
They are bigger dangly bits. So
Yeah.
we've got an XT60 connector on the other way on that one. Then we've also got one set of cables, which is for the motor to the left, another for the motor to the right. And do you do the thing where if you've got a positive and negative, or let's call it a red and a black, do you wire that in one way and then on the other one you wire it in the opposite way?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Oh.
Because I built a grand total of one of these. I think I do.
Yeah,
I
so
I switch them.
because it's pre-mixed
Yeah.
inside of the ESC. You don't have to do it on the controller. Typically, that's what I do. The other thing that to point out on this is that you do have your radio controlled inputs here. There's 2 of them. There's this one, which has got your black, red, and white cable. The white cable denotes your signal, as does the yellow. So you don't have the other colors, it's just the signal. So your left and right of the drive is either white or it is yellow. The other thing on here is a power switch. So if you plug all this in and for some reason it doesn't work, all you got to do is just switch that switch over and you should be good to go. What BigTreeTech asked us to do was to basically turn the power on using this and connecting that on the head switch. But we decided that that's not the best thing for us, and we've decided to sort of leave that as is for the moment. What I would probably suggest is if you've got any kind of hot glue or something, perhaps hot gluing that into the onward position so it doesn't get knocked when it's in transit. So,
or leave it accessible.
Exactly. Now in the instructions we do have all the information you're going to need to be able to program this, and we'll also go through a few handy tips and tricks which we've been talking about the, as I said earlier, about the servos on the left and right hands here as well, which means that you won't need to use this cable here, which is a splitter. So should we get into it?
Yeah, why not?
Let's do it. Okay, right. Let's take his head off for starts. Let's turn this upside down. Do we want to put something underneath him, or are you content with him to be like that? Okie dokie. So how would you normally wire this up? And bear in mind now, obviously we've got this part here where your battery slips into. So this will mount this way round. Hopefully you can see that.
Yep.
That will mount this way around. So where are we putting all the electronics on this design? Is it all up the front?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So I basically start by just getting everything plugged in at first. And then after everything's plugged in and I test it to make sure that the tracks work like it's supposed to, then I'm gonna tuck stuff in and use zip ties to clean everything up.
Let's take a slightly closer look at this now.
Yeah.
Now, personally, what I would do is I'd have one of these cables to do black and red, and the other one to do red and black. And the reason I do that is because I can change that setting around in the remote control. So, do you want to grab the opposite to this and just plug him in? So, black into blue on that one, and red into yellow on this one.
So at this point, is it fair to say that we're kind of guessing a little bit as to which side goes with which?
Not at all, because
No?
because ultimately it won't matter, because you can just change that around in the remote control.
Gotcha.
And I'm more about the remote control than I am about the physicality, physical
yep.
of the hardware. So we're going to go yellow to black on this side. And we haven't got a huge amount of room in there, but we're making the best of what we have.
Well, it'll be easy to clean everything up and zip tie it down later. There won't be a whole bunch of excess cable.
Okay, well that's on. We have the servo at the back here.
Yep.
I'm not going to plug that in just yet. And let's just pull the other servos out so we can see those and see where they are. That's obviously the fan as well, and we have the left and right controller here and here.
This little guy, we're gonna have to interrupt this.
Yep.
Take a snip to it.
Yep. Should we do that now?
We probably should. I want to take a quick look at this and just kind of see roughly where this is going to end up sitting. That way I know I have enough cable here to make the connections like it's supposed to.
Yep.
So obviously I want this red showing on this side. So I'm gonna tuck the black end down here. Remember the cables that we added to the switch, it doesn't matter what color that's on them. They're both technically the positive side. I want the red on this side though, because when I add this cable back into this side, I guess, when I reattach it, I want to see clearly that it's red going to red and black going to black.
Yeah. You can't get it wrong, but you can try. So the cable here will only go in one way. So, you know, but if you try and you might get a short on it, you might blow something up.
I think I might need to add some cable though.
Quite possibly.
Quite possibly. I'm just gonna get this out of the way. So I want to be able to. I did leave it a little short, but that's not bad.
No, that's all right.
That's all right. So this is gonna end up basically like this. This one is gonna tie in to this one. That black is actually a little bit short.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to add one. That's okay. So we can just snip that wherever.
Jesus Christ.
Goes in tight, comes out loose. So then obviously the other option to this could be soldering.
Yep.
And that makes the connections a little bit smaller, obviously, but a little bit more difficult if you're adverse to soldering. With that, we can then get our receiver out, I guess. Start plugging some things in.
Yep. So what I tend to do is, so we've got 1 and 3. So this one plugs into 3 and the signal goes to the top, I believe. This one goes to number 1. Just like that. Then these two for the left and right movements on the arms, they go into 6 and also 5, and then we're going to do something with these in a bit so you can see how we change stuff over. But you also have them on a static switch as well. So 5 and 6 are here. So if you just wanted to move that, just move the arms, you could just move the arms, but when you go forwards and backwards, it will show that motion as well. And then I believe 4 is this one, right?
Your weapon.
My weapon. So, yep. So 1, 2 we don't use. 3 for the signal for the right hand side, and then 4 is for the rear boom, and then these two are just plugged in, and we're going to co-phase those in a bit. So that should be wired. Whereabouts does the fan fit in?
You can actually plug it into any open spots. Basically what happens when there's power to this receiver, there'll be power to the fan.
Okay, cool.
Should we plug it in and make sure it works before we start doing some organizing?
Why don't we do that? Let's just plug that in as well. And just make sure.
Okay.
And switch the switch. And this one.
Wah.
Whee! It looks like we know what we're doing.
We got a fan.
That's going to whiz up if you turn it on. So mine move control out of the way, because that's going to self-center at that point. There he is. Okay, so just making sure the cables are out of the way. So as I say, with 5 and 6, we should have some movement on here. That one's a bit stuck. This one's a little bit stuck here. But 5 is definitely working.
Yeah.
And left and right is working, but not to the full amount. We can change that. So let's just go forward slightly. So let's go forward and backwards. So what we can do at that point is we can go into our settings, which you might not be able to see. Let's look. And go to setup. And then we're going to reverse. We're going to try channel 2 first. Let's just check that. Let's try channel 1 actually. Okay, let's try again. No. Okay, let's reverse this again.
Yeehaw.
Sorry. Okay. So let's swap around the channel then in that case.
Okay.
So we can either do it. Well, there's two things we can do. We can either swap around these, or we can swap around those.
100% up to you.
So,
Whichever one's easier to get to.
Well, I would guess, let's swap around this.
Okay.
And we're just going to take out channel 1 and replace channel 3 into channel 1. And if this doesn't work, then we'll just swap around the... let's try that.
Sometimes you just need to swap some stuff around and troubleshoot a little bit. And I'll always plug and play.
That's it. Okay, switch.
Oh yeah. That's important, huh?
It is. So,
Look at that.
okay.
Is it turning the right way?
It's not, so that's fine. We're going to go into the menu again. Okay, well, we'll leave it there for the minute. The other thing we want to try and do is on number 4, we want to move the endpoints. So if we go to the endpoints on 4 and we scroll down, hopefully you can see that, we're going to put that all the way up to 120.
Looks a little washed out.
Does it? Yeah, it may well do. I might need to get a slightly better, better take on that. If I go over that way, then that link toggles that over there, and you'll see it this time. So if I go up,
Look at that.
see the movement? And then to save it, you press cancel, hold it down.
Go the other way, just as far?
Doesn't quite, does it? Endpoints. Let's go down again. I can't go any further than that.
That's not bad.
It's not bad, but then also you then have that's about as far as we're going to get on that, but that's not bad, that movement actually. Range of movement's pretty good. And we just need to work out why we're stalling on that. It might be slightly tight on that one. He's working okay.
It's definitely a bit grumpy, isn't it?
It is a little bit.
What if we loosen up the control panel here?
Yeah, might be.
And just...
Oops, sorry, dude.
And there it goes.
Why don't I just drive you forward? Oh, there you go.
A little better. Maybe just a tiny bit tight.
Yep, I think it was. So that's got good motion now on both. So what we'd do, I know it's going to be a little bit washed out on the screen here, but I'll try and explain it as best I can. Basically, if we go into functions, basically if we go into setup and then we look into mix, what you can do is set up mix 1. Okay, so mix 1 is on, the master is going to be channel 1, but the slave in this case is going to be channel 6. Okay, the positive mix is the next bit. You want to put that all the way up to 120 or 100. The negative mix is going to be minus 100. And again, to save, you press and hold down cancel. Go into mix again. We're going to set up mix 2, same situation. Number 5. So the master this time, so we're going to set that to on. Master is going to be channel 2 this time. And the slave is going to be channel 5. Is that right? Yes. Positive mix again.
3, 5.
Channel this time is going to be up to 100. And negative is going to be minus 100 again.
Can you hear that?
I can hear the difference in tone, yeah. It's doing its job, obviously. So what we're getting now is when I press and hold down cancel to save, that should be done. So we'll come back out of that now then. You can see on that arm there, as I move that left and right, it's moving. The front will also move depending on where I'm at here.
I've lost this one now.
No, you should be sort of set back slightly. So we're now in a good place. So let's get this switch back. Yeah,
make it pretty.
Let's make it pretty inside and let's go from there. Let's do it.
Yeah, make it pretty. We need some extra zip ties.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple there, there's a couple there.
If you're wondering, this little thing here, I'll just show you this as well while we're doing that. This little thing here is, if you were to lose connection to your radio and you needed to rebind your radio, you plug this in. So you press the bind button on your transmitter, which is here, and then you switch it on. And then basically you just plug this cable in and you switch the racer on. So that will bind those two together and make a beeping noise, and that will happen. But you have to remove this plug. And I had it recently where someone was like, I keep having to rebind my radio. I don't know why it keeps doing it. And immediately I knew you'd left the binding plug in. So you have to take this out, then switch everything off, switch it back on again, check that it's bound, otherwise it won't. So yeah, binding plugs are super important, but like if you leave them in, you're gonna have some issues. And also that binding plug is in the position of the fan at the moment. So in this case, you'd need to unplug the fan as well. There he is. He's finished.
If you want to do that, we can do that later. So yeah, you want to...
Let's get it on the floor. Let's do it. That.
Excellent.
Oh, it drives real nice as well. Oh my God. It's really smooth as well.
Oh, I have two. So. Here, you want a racer to take its head off?
Let's do it.
Which one do you want?
Any of them.
You have a choice.
Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. Whatever's easy.
Take our first racer.
Oh, light touch. Oh. Is that even going to come off?
A few moments later.
Yes. Woo! That's incredible. Cool. Okay. That's excellent.
What's that?
Shall I follow it?
Yeah, sure. It's really hard when you can't see.
Whoa!
There's no camera attached to that. I can't stop now.
It's no slouch, is it?
I could not control it for shit. Well, I'm trying to like guess where it's going, and all I can see is your ass.
Well, that's not a bad thing, right? Or maybe it is.
I mean, it's hard to concentrate.
All I can see is your ass. Amazing. There we go. Any final thoughts?
No, there's no time for thoughts. We got 7 more of these to build. Come
Oh,
on.
that's right. Let's get cracking.
You are watching a master at work.